Israeli leaders defended the actions of their troops.
They deliberately attacked the first soldiers who came on the ship. They were mobbed. They were clubbed. They were beaten, stabbed. There was even a report of gunfire. And our soldiers had to defend themselves, defend their lives, or they would have been killed.
The occupation decided to carry out this piracy and to go beyond all the norms and laws of humanity. This isn't a surprise to us, since we know the occupation and its crimes.
Given the number of casualties in this incident, Israel now bears a responsibility to provide a full account of what occurred, what efforts were made to minimize the loss of life, and why the death toll was so high. It will be particularly important to establish whether enough was done to prevent deaths and unnecessary injuries. Mr. President, these events are clearly very serious, but we cannot view them in isolation. They must be set against the context of the intolerable and unsustainable situation that pertains in Gaza. It is clearer than ever that Israel's restrictions on access to Gaza must be lifted in line with Security Council Resolution 1860.
The Israeli Cabinet Minister Benny Begin, who joins us from Jerusalem. Very good evening to you. So, I mean, you may well have been able to hear it there, the British Foreign Secretary, new Foreign Secretary, of course, William Hague, saying that there must be a full and independent investigation into what went on. Are you happy with that?
I hear that, and as a matter of routine, our military examines all its activities. There is no doubt that we didn't aim at the result, the tragic result, as occurred. Actually, when our soldiers boarded the ship, they were practically barehanded, no lethal instruments in their hands, and they were attacked brutally by hoodlums, by knives, axes.
Benny Begin, thank you very much.
He's planning to captain an aid boat to Gaza on behalf of the organisation European Jews for a Just Peace later this summer. He joins us now in the studio. Glyn Secker, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Your reaction to the events of today?
We utterly condemn this heinous attack.
Do you have any details yourself of what's been happening, given that you're engaged and involved in wanting to take a boat across? Do you have any more details than what we've been reporting today?
No, we haven't any more details, and one of the reasons for that is that the people on the Marmara have not been able to put their case, not been able to put their point of view, explain what happened to them. The whole operation is controlled by the Israelis at the moment.
So when now?
The point for us is that we're the biggest organisation of Jews with a different voice in Europe, and we're saying that what Israel is doing is not in our name. We are horrified at the treatment of the Palestinians. We have a proud tradition of, in Jewish history, of standing up for humanitarian rights. It was a Jew who put the document together, which formed the basis for the Charter of Human Rights of the United Nations after the war, Rani Kassim. We stand in that tradition, and we feel that what has been reiterated today on the news about the need for Israel to abide by international law and the law of the sea needs to be upheld. This flotilla today was not going into Israeli waters, it was going into Gaza, into Gazan waters, and we as Jews want to do the same. We want to go there and to say we're delivering medical aid, we're delivering books and art materials for children, and we want to challenge the blockade because we say it is morally wrong, indefensible.
Glyn Secker,
caught up in the episode.
Do you believe the Israeli action was justified?
Well, it's very difficult to say, but what we've got to remember is this. The Israelis offered the ship another post to transport their aid, Ashdod. The ships refused. The Israeli Navy boarded the ships and were attacked with firearms and with other kind of weapons.
Right, I'm going to stop you on the firearms because everybody's been incredibly vague on that particular point, and it's absolutely crucial. What firearms were used? What firearms were on board these ships?
Well, if you look at the video, things are very unclear, and that's why I support the call for an independent inquiry. But clearly, the Israeli Navy were attacked. And what you've got to understand
but you said firearms, and that it doesn't sound like you're quite clear that they were
from
used.
what I have seen and from the videos that I've seen, it is clear that there were firearms used at against the Israeli Navy. Now, the crucial thing is this. If, as a British Member of Parliament, a ship was coming here and refused to stop or refused to hear calls from the British authorities, of course the British Navy would do exactly the same thing. They would have to board the ship. Now, this isn't any ship. This is a ship that is financed and supported by an extremist group, the IHH.
It was in international waters as well, of course.
But they were coming to the Gaza borders. And given what has happened in the past, given that Gaza is a terrorist state, given that Hamas have smuggled loads of arms and weapons over the past few years.
But nobody's suggesting that's what was on board these ships.
But they have to check. Just they were unprepared for the fact that there would be people there with weapons and shouting jihad, and people who had clearly come there with the intent of causing a lot of problems.
Parliament. He joins us live now from Ramallah. Mr. Barghouti, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Your reaction to the attack on the flotilla, please.
I think what Israel has done is an act of piracy. What Israel has done is a crime. They've attacked ships carrying the flags of other countries like Greece and Turkey while they were in international water, which is illegal by every law. More than that, they've killed 19 people. They've killed civilians, non-violent, peaceful activists, including people who came just bringing medicine and food aid to Gaza. What has happened has exposed the reality. The reality is that Israel is imposing illegal blockade on Gaza for more than 3 years. I wanted to remind you that some of the people on these ships are people like Mairead Maguire, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for her role for peace in places like Ireland. These are non-violent activists, peaceful activists. They had no weapons. The Israeli lies that continue one after the other and that contradict each other are just a reflection of how deep the crisis is in the case of Israel and how profound the mistakes that are made by the Israeli government. This Israeli government that is conducting a policy of apartheid and a policy of discrimination and repression of the Palestinian people to a level that is unbelievable and unacceptable.
The Israeli government say that they are willing to investigate the attack, but they are rejecting any calls for an independent inquiry. Is that what you would be asking for?
Of course, because they refused before to allow Goldstone to visit the area in the West Bank. They refused to cooperate with his mission. They deported Richard Falk, who is Jewish, by the way, and who represents the United Nations and who was supposed to make a report about human rights violations. They've deported Noam Chomsky, a well-known Jewish writer and very famous, world-pronounced, knowledgeable person who was not allowed even to come and lecture in the Palestinian territories. Israel is committing one attack, one mistake after the other, and I think what they have done today will...
The British government deeply deplores the loss of life that has occurred in the interception of the Gaza flotilla, and of course our first thoughts are with the families of those who may have been injured or killed. We are in urgent touch with the Israeli government, both in Israel and in London, seeking more information about UK nationals who have been involved, and of course Israel must provide consular access to those individuals as that information becomes available. It is very important that Israel acts with restraint and in line with international obligations in any case such as this. And of course we will all want to know more about whether more could have been done to minimize the risks or to reduce the number of deaths and injuries. That is why we agree with our EU partners and other international partners that there must be a full and impartial and independent investigation or inquiry into these events.